I found some small, fragrant plums at the market, and whether I wanted or not, I absolutely had to make gomboti, or plum dumplings if you will. Hi, I'm Robert, and today's recipe will yield about 25 dumplings with plums, more or less depending on how big or small you make them. You should start with the potatoes, which need to be boiled. I already boiled mine, so we'll talk about them a bit later. About 700 grams of potatoes. The best are the ones for mash because they crumble easily, and you boil them in water until a fork goes through them easily. The second step is what I'm doing now, the plums. I found these small and beautiful plums at the market. We'll use about 350 grams of pitted plums, which we'll just keep in a bowl for now. These small plums are helpful because we can place them whole inside the dumplings, and since they're round, the dumplings also turn out rounder and easier to shape. Over them, we'll sprinkle a bit of brown sugar or whatever sugar you have. I like to use muscovado here because it's more aromatic, which makes the plums more flavorful too. About 25 grams of sugar and a little cinnamon because I really like the taste of plums with cinnamon. Around 2-3 grams of cinnamon, but adjust the taste. You can skip it altogether or add more. Mix everything and let the plums sit to macerate, as my father used to say, so they develop their aroma before using them for extra flavor in the dumplings. While the plums rest, we'll prepare the breadcrumbs. In a pan, I melted about a tablespoon of butter and let it heat up. I added 100 grams of brown sugar, left it in the pan just to melt a little. I don't want it to caramelize too much, just melt slightly. Next, I added 200 grams of breadcrumbs, which I toasted lightly in butter and sugar. After the breadcrumbs are nicely browned and combined with the sugar, I like to add a bit of cinnamon here too for extra touch of flavor, but that's optional. As I mentioned, I boiled the potatoes yesterday and let them cool in their skin, covered so they wouldn't dry out too much. Let them cool before peeling because there's no point in burning your hands. It makes no difference to the recipe. I peeled them and now I'll grate them on the larger side of the grater, or if you have a potato ricer, that works perfectly too. The idea is to break them down. Over the potatoes, we'll add 2 medium eggs, and this is the moment you'll get your hands dirty. My only problem is I'm on camera, which I don't love, but when you're not filming, it's easier. So we mix the eggs with the potatoes, then we'll add between 250 and 350 grams of flour, depending on how much water the potatoes absorbed and how watery the eggs are, since some eggs are better quality and some less so. Try not to add too much flour, just the minimum needed, and I'll show you the texture we're aiming for. Once the dough comes together a little, move it to a floured surface and knead it lightly until it no longer sticks on the outside. That way we can roll it out easily. The dough should be soft, but because it's floured on the outside, it won't stick. If you break it open, the inside is still quite sticky. That's fine. As I said, try not to overload it with too much flour. On the table, sprinkle enough flour to prevent sticking and roll the dough with a rolling pin into a sheet about half a centimeter thick. Now, depending on preference, if you want more dough around the dumpling, roll it thicker, but usually we want less dough and more plum. With a pizza wheel or a knife, cut the dough into squares, larger or smaller depending on the size of the plums, so you can wrap the plums fully inside. Place a plum in each square and fold the dough all around it. Mine are quite sticky because I chose to use less flour, so it'll be a bit tricky, but I prefer that over having too much flour in the dumpling and ending up with a heavier dough. I finished shaping the dumplings, and with the extra dough I made little pucici, which as a kid were my favorite. Maybe also because the funny name, and we'll boil them just like the dumplings. Heat water, but don't let it boil too violently, just occasional bubbles here and there. If it boils too hard, the dumplings will burst and fall apart. Place the dumplings in the water and keep them there until they float to the surface. Use a spider strainer to move them around occasionally so they don't stick to the bottom. And once they've floated, take them out, coat them in breadcrumb mixture and transfer them to a plate. It should all go fairly smoothly. And here they are, the dumplings and the little puțici. I won't make a long ending because I can't wait to eat them. Now is the time to make this recipe while it's still plum season here in Romania. And a puțică. For more recipes like this, don't forget to give a like, subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram where I share lots of useful tips.